Okay, doke. People are joining still, so we'll give it another minute. Okay. Okie doke. Welcome, everyone. This is Decoding Dyslexia Idaho's Wednesday webinar, and tonight's topic is the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. Yay! We've got Nick Stallings with us here tonight to present to us. Nick has worked for the Center on Disabilities and Human Development for over 12 years, supporting grant-funded projects like Idaho Stars, the Idaho Project for Children and Youth with Deaf and Blindness, and the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. He began his career as an undergraduate intern and is now at the Boise AT coordinator for the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. His roles include coordinating the Boise Assistive Technology Lending Library, conducting AT consultations and trainings, and supporting Idaho teachers, students, and their families. He also supports the Idaho Digital Accessibility, Consortium to provide trainings to Idaho agencies with the ultimate goal of increasing web and document accessibility across the state, and is the Southern coordinator for the Idaho Deaf and Blind Equipment Distribution Project. My goodness, I got to meet Nick several years ago at our first Decoding Dyslexia Summit, which was downtown Boise in 2019. And he came with this table and all these gadgets, and it was just really exciting. I mean, it was so much more than what I know kiddos with dyslexia might need. So it's really, he's a wealth of knowledge in all areas of AT, so much more, as I said, than just kiddos that need support in the classroom with reading. So thank you, Nick, for taking time to be with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, mute my screen and let you get rocking.
Sounds good. Someone was in the waiting room. I went ahead and admitted them and then muted them. So if I hear any feedback, I'll mute you unless you have a question. Just jump in, stop me. So thank you for having me. I apologize. I moved my camera from where it normally is over so that way I can kind of show you guys a little bit more. But what I'm going to do here is show my screen. Hopefully you are seeing my little PowerPoint presentation here. I got to move some of my controls around. Okay, so I guess I'll just go ahead and dive in. Like I said, please slow me down, stop me, ask questions, be engaged. I'm here for you guys. I don't want to waste your time at all. But like Robin said, AT is a huge field. I do a whole lot of different things, from our kiddos with dyslexia to supporting them to the pretty involved kids with, children and youth with deaf blindness and helping them and their school teams and their families. So I do it all. And as well, same with the Idaho Digital Accessibility Consortium is what we call it, IDAC. And that's a whole nother thing where we support state agencies in making their websites and their documents more accessible to assistive technology and assistive technology users. So I'm all in the world of AT in Idaho. But my name is Nick Stallings. I'm here in Boise, and I'm with the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. And the IATP, I've been trying to get better at getting people to understand how this hierarchy goes. But technically, we're University of Idaho employees, right? But that is center employees at the University of Idaho, and then every center employee works for a project at the center. So I'm with the Idaho Assistive Technology Project, which is part of what's called a UCED, the Center on Disabilities and Human Development, and the UCED is a University Center on Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. So every state has one. Some of them have two, actually. Most of them are connected to medical schools because they kind of look at the medical model of disability. Ours is connected to our education. So we work with a lot of special education teams and just education in general, right, at the College of Education up at U of I. So a little background on that. I'll go ahead and advance here. Quick little bit about me. Like Robin said, I'm from the University of Idaho. I have actually a sociology major with a minor in philosophy, so it's nowhere near assistive technology or special education. But I was an undergraduate intern at the center starting my sophomore year, and I still work there. Like I said, one of 67 in the US. I started off as a core intern, just doing any kind of support for the CDHD. So any kind of admin work, coordinating. We had to do a yearly art walk up in Moscow, really just kind of keeping the things going. But after I graduated, I became a program advisor for Idaho Stars Project, which is childcare resource and referral across the state of Idaho. I then moved down here to Boise and got a position with the Idaho Project for Children with Deaf Blindness. Stayed with Dr. Greenfield for a while, and then moved over to the Idaho Assistive Technology Project, where I am now. I am the Boise AT coordinator. I, like Robin said, coordinate our lending library. 99% of the things I'm going to show you here are available to you for free to loan. Any Idahoan can access our project. It doesn't cost anything but time. I also work on the I Can Connect project, which is a deaf-blind equipment distribution program. Individuals who have that dual diagnosis of combined vision and hearing loss, I can actually purchase them distance communication equipment. So iPads, larger screens, cell phones, tablets, things like that. And then I work to train them on how to best use those. I also work for the Idaho Digital Accessibility Consortium. I'm sorry. Did I hear so hand raised? Nope. Okay. So I also work with IDAC, and like I told you a little bit about, we train state agencies and web developers on what essentially assistive technology is and how their websites are not jiving with assistive technology. And then we also show them how to make it work and how to go about making things accessible. All right. And then I also do vocational rehabilitation and school consultations as well. I got one wife, 2 kiddos. We got married over the summer. So that's a picture of us. Oliver down there at the bottom, he is a techie like me as well, but I have to point out to everyone, the only reason he has an iPad is because he officiated for us, and our compromise was that he got to have his his speech on the iPad. He ended up memorizing it, so he didn't need it, but we're a tech family, so. So a little bit about the Idaho Assistive Technology Project in general. Idaho, the AT projects, every state has an AT project of some sort, and this comes from funding from actually the AT Act of 1998. We've been pretty successful at continuing that funding through now, and we're hopefully to keep it going. So that's where that comes from. It's a federal grant. We also get some funding from Idaho SESTA, which is the State Department of Education Special Education and Technical Assistance Grant. We partner with BSU. Some of our SESTA employees are BSU, and some of them are U of I. It just really depends on who's what. The AT side of things is all with us, with University of Idaho. But that's how we get to connect with schools and individuals or kiddos who are on an IEP. We can go out and provide a consultation hands-on, work with the kiddo, work with the team, and come up with ideas that might be important or might be helpful for what functional needs we're trying to address. And yeah, and then we write a report and do that. So yeah, school-based consultations there at the next one. I guess I got a little ahead of myself. The I Can Connect, the Idaho Deaf-Blind Equipment Distribution Program is a huge piece as well. The finance program, I have another slide for that, so I'm going to skip over that and I'll tell you about it here shortly. But we also have an AT reutilization / AT for all website, which is kind of like the Craigslist of assistive technology in Idaho, and also where you can find a lot of these lending library items. This is where we house it. So you can take a look at what we have available, and I'll show you that. We have a cool program called Computers for Kids, which actually takes in old computers and refurbishes them, upgrades them, puts new software on them, and then provides those computers to students free of charge. A little bit different now in the last 2 years with this COVID stuff and a lot more students getting their distance communication, but we do have that project available. We didn't do it this last year because it got canceled, but we hopefully will be doing it again next March. But we do a Tools for Life conference every year, which is a transition fair. So for any of those kiddos who are getting close to graduating high school, in those transition programs, I think it's 19 to 21, 18 to 21, somewhere in there, they get to go. We have 3 locations. We always rotate across the state. It's either here in Boise, over in Pocatello, or up in Moscow. So that way we can get all of the students covered. But it's 2 days of just nothing but for those students. Transition, focus, anything to do with Medicaid, finding a job, going to college, whatever it is you're going to do after you're done with high school in transition focus. That's what those are for. And it gives kids opportunity to get away from parents, be on their own for the first time. A lot of them haven't had the opportunity to be alone. We get them hotel rooms. We have a dance with a pizza party. It's a lot of fun, but with that focus of hopefully getting them the supports they need to transition smoothly. We have 3 locations. We used to have a 4th lending library, but things are kind of weird over in Idaho Falls right now, just with staffing and whatnot. But we're located in Boise, Moscow, Coeur d'Alene. Moscow is obviously our main location. I'm pretty busy down here in Boise, and then my coworker Dan Dyer is up in Coeur d'Alene. So just to give you a quick look, this is our Idaho AT for All website, and I will show you a lot closer as well if you're interested. So don't worry about missing it here. But this is our landing page. This is where you can find all things AT. It's not only going to have everything that are at our lending libraries, it's also going to have durable medical equipment. One of the big things with reutilization is the cost of assistive technology. So reutilization is important, especially if the things are still working. So we will contract with Link, the Living Independence Network Corporation, to help us out with all of the DME stuff. So shower chairs, wheelchair ramps, grab bars, any of those things you think that are part of assistive technology that are helpful, but maybe aren't quite techy, right? Going to be more durable medical equipment is the name of it. So you can find all of those things here. Like I said, free of charge, doesn't cost anyone anytime, and it's available to all Idahoans. So as long as you're in Idaho, we can help you out. I have one student that I'm working with who's going to OSU. We're trying to figure it out because she's technically an Idahoan, but we're happy to work with you. We're very flexible. We're here to help. So a little bit about our low interest financing program. I thought I'd just talk real quickly about it. We actually provide loans, guaranteed loans, for individuals to acquire assistive technology. We generally, as you can see, are probably doing wheelchair ramps, or excuse me, wheelchair accessible vans and hearing aids. Those tend to be our biggest one. But we can really do anything, $500 to $10,000 loans to acquire any assistive technology. And as you can see, it's at the prime rate, which is currently at about 3.25, probably going up here soon. But that's an option and available for individuals for acquiring any of the assistive technology we're talking about. Okay, so with this, I think what I'm going to do is bail out of my presentation here, and I might need, oh, looks like I lost my connection. So I might need a little guidance to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. But let me stop my share here, share again. I think what we're going to do is screen 2. Okay, you should be seeing the same PowerPoint, just in the it's not in the presentation. We have the Idaho Training Clearinghouse. And if I lower this, I've gone ahead and I pulled this up. And what the Idaho Training Clearinghouse is a state SDE, State Department of Education funded resource for all things education, right? There's a whole lot of topics, as you can see. We go from accessible educational materials, AT, autism, low incidence, behavior, comprehensive evaluation, all the way into RDA monitoring, our pyramid collaboration, response to intervention. There's a lot of stuff that is way outside of my purview that I have no clue what any of this stuff means, but lots of trainings available. But we have one that is just specific to assistive technology. And this is free. It doesn't cost anyone anything but time. You can see a couple of the feature trainings that we had lately, shared reading and using AAC, which is alternative augmentative communication. That was a super popular one this year. And we're putting a big push to supporting SLPs to help with their students who are using AAC devices and using alternative ways of communicating, right? We got an AT in the workplace training that's there. I think Melody Brooks did that one. We got really cool stuff. I really like to push this. Oops, I'm sorry. This guy right here. Oh, we have it there. Here, this one right here. Dr. Therese Wilcom. She is my hero. She's from the University of New Hampshire, and she does DIY assistive technology. So she shows a lot of different ideas on how to make quick fixes on AT, and it's still assistive technology, right? From things that we have just really laying around us, or that are really easily to acquire. But I also thought you guys might be interested in this guy right here, technology literacy supports for students with high incidence disabilities. That's from Dan Dyer. I don't know what all is in that training. I'm sure he's got a little bit more than me, and I probably have things he doesn't have in there, but just another resource that's available to you. And it's free of charge. All it does is take some time. So I did want to point that out about the Idaho Training Clearinghouse. So we've been talking about AT. I don't know if anyone knows what AT is. I'm not seeing anything in the chat or anything around there. So I'm not sure if you guys want to dive in. If you're not sure what AT is, I'll just continue on here. But AT really is anything. And it's really any item, piece of equipment, software program, or product system, but it's all about the function. What are we using it for? And the idea is that it's used to increase, right? Because we lost it, maintain because we might be losing it, or improve, might actually give us the ability because we never had it. The functional capabilities of a person with disabilities. Now, I don't really like that last part, person with disabilities, because not everyone identifies as a person with a disability, right? A lot of us wear glasses, but wouldn't call ourselves people with disabilities using assistive technology. But that's really what it is. I'm trying to look, I don't have it handy with me here, but we used to have a pretty good example of is it AT, or a presentation that's what is it AT, and Dan actually found a locker storage rack. Basically, for a tall locker, you could put a rack inside of it, and it kind of lets you separate things. And the question is that assistive technology? Well, probably if you're looking at it from a storage perspective, organization, maybe. But what was really cool about it is that it had a wire cage, so we could use it as a document scanning station. So instead of an individual having to figure out, when they're taking a picture of something or using an OCR app, which I'm going to talk about here shortly, instead of having to finagle that and figure it out on their own, you can easily just set your phone or your tablet or whatever scanning device you're using with the paper that you want to scan underneath it. So that little rack that was just a wire rack that you use for organization actually turns into assistive technology just because we're using it in a different way, right? And so running OCR can be helpful for somebody who's blind or visually impaired, right? And I'll show you some of that stuff. And OCR is going to be a big piece of when we're talking about dyslexia and any kind of text to speech programming, right? So when we're having that stuff read to us, and all of it gets into computer science and accessibility and the Digital Accessibility Consortium, but really what we're talking about is the coding that goes into these programs, right? And you don't have to be a computer scientist to figure it out. It's really not that difficult. It's just the tinkering and the hoops that you have to jump through. So that's what AT is. And I thought what we'll go ahead and do is just dive right in here. If you see something you're interested in, what my plan is, I'm going to talk about a little bit of these things that you're seeing here. And then hopefully get into showing them the actual hands-on stuff. So when it comes to reading and writing, we have a lot of traditional ways of reading and writing, right? Paper and pencil. That's pretty much what it is. Black and white. You're reading the book, you're writing down in the pencil, right? Well, we don't always have to do that. There's a lot of other options. And so I thought I'd just tell you about a little bit of these things. I'll just start at the top, but what that's called, that is a LiveScribe Smart Pen. And what that LiveScribe does is it actually will record audio while you're taking your notes. Unfortunately, they're no longer making the basic awesome version that I thought was great. So they've gotten a little bit fancier. You do have to incorporate some kind of smart device, whether that be a smartphone or a tablet of some sort. But it's really helpful for those students who either have trouble keeping up while they're taking notes. It allows them to record everything that's going on in the classroom while they're taking their notes, right? And it allows them, when they go back to reviewing their notes, they can be listening, they can tap on the notes, that location when they wrote those, whatever it was they wrote, and hear what was being said and what was recording at the time. So it's a really good way for recall and to review information, especially if you might have missed something while you're in class, right? Another cool device that just came out that I have completely integrated into my life is the Remarkable. And you can see it right up here. This gal is using it for drawing, but what it is a device that is just for paper. So you can see I got my to-do list pulled up here. I use it for everything, but I have a problem with not being able to retain information if I type it. I can type it a million times and it's probably not going to stick. But if I write it, probably a good chance that it's going to stay in there. Well, I got to a point, especially with this position, that I was taking a lot of notes and having a lot of paper all over the place. I had about 3 different notebooks going, and it was just too much for me to manage. I'm not that organized. And so what this allows me to do is to create all of these pages, all of these note pages like I normally would, like with a regular pen, but all in one electronic document, or excuse me, one electronic tablet. So you can see I have a couple other things I got to organize by files. It's cool because it actually converts things into PDFs. If your handwriting is good enough, it will convert your handwriting your handwriting into text, right? So you can make it an accessible PDF in that regard. But really, this is just an organization thing, a cool piece of tech that exists that can really be helpful for some kiddos, especially maybe those who are like me, have organization problems or memory retention problems. Assistive technology doesn't have to be super techy like that, though. One of the things we talk about with AT is that can be low tech or high tech or mid tech, right, in between, right? So we talk a lot about, especially with reading, is changing the appearance of reading, right? We know that the brain, it's a crazy thing. We don't know everything that goes on up there, but it's a fascinating deal. And sometimes just changing the color of something can really help a student read. So that's just a simple writing guide, reading guide. And they come in different colors for different shades for individuals who prefer different shades. But you can see all you're doing is you're using it with your regular textbook, right? And sliding it down along, and that increased contrast, it changes the contrast, and it can be helpful for some students. Sometimes sometimes that's really all you need. And I guess another note I should go back to is assistive technology is really, there's no one catch-all. AT will be great for one person, will be horrible for another person. It's really all up to the individual, what they're comfortable with, how much they want to work on incorporating it, right? So something like, that kind of cover for reading might be helpful for somebody, whereas the actual screen mask that I can show you on Visor on Google Chrome, that might be too much for another person. But vice versa, they could prefer the opposite. Everyone's a little different. So moving along here, this is a little screenshot down at the bottom. We have dictate and it's showing Safari and then dictation right there. But we can have things read to us just using our iPad or using Microsoft Word or using our Chromebook by just enabling those features that are standard in the devices. All three of the big three, so Microsoft and PC, iOS and Apple, and then now we have Android and Chromebook, right? They're doing an excellent job of trying to improve accessibility. It's especially over the last 2 years, we really realized how important it is, distance communication, being able to interact with each other and make sure that things are accessible from a distance, from while we're not in person right next to each other. So simple 2-finger swipes down. I don't know if I have it set up here, but okay. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but this iPad, let me go ahead and see if I can get this back up here. Hold on just a moment, I apologize. There we go. So what I can show you, pull up my screen mirroring. Well, if I can get it. Where are you here? I apologize. I had it up and then something happened with my screen share. Make sure I'm on. I see. Okay, I lost my internet. So one moment here. Of course, now I'm having trouble here. So, but if I do a 2-finger swipe, you might hear my iPad talking at me here. I'm going to keep trying to do that, but a 2-finger swipe down from the top with speak screen enabled will read any of the text that's on the screen. Now, it won't read all of it all the time. It really depends on what you're trying to read and where. There are some caveats in there. But man, I wish I could find our other deal here, our other internet. But what it allows you to do, is just read, right? And that's just in a simple setting that's available under the accessibility settings on an iPad. Oh, there we are. Okay, try to get us connected again. There we go. Okay. Move it over here. There we are. Come on, reflector. All right, now can you guys see that? Can anyone give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat? You should be seeing my iPad screen. All right, perfect. So you can see here, if I just pull up, I don't even know what I have, NPR here on this iPad, and you can see it's just regular standard iPad. It is the newer one, the newer version Pro, but I've enabled speak screen, and with a 2-finger swipe from the top, oh, too high there, from the top, what I can get going, oh, if we can get it going here, goodness gracious. Okay, yep, now she's not sharing. And talk about, I'm not sure why we're not getting any sound, unless you guys are hearing sound there, but you can see this Safari pulled up and she's supposed to be speaking, but we can have her go across and literally be reading. Now, that's a 2-finger swipe, right? And everyone is familiar as well with dictation. It's not just dictate that's available in Microsoft Word. We all use it for a lot of people use it for text messaging while we're driving, right? But we can be using that for writing stories as well. One of the cool pieces of tech that just came in, and I apologize, I can't let anyone borrow quite yet because I need to get it tagged. But we have this. It's called the Privo or the Prevo. I haven't quite figured out how to pronounce it. Privo. But for those kiddos who are working in school using dictation, they don't always have to just be using, we found that using a microphone works 10 times better than trying to use anything that's standard, right? And you guys are picking up on my microphone here. Even a headset like this can be super helpful for dictation and for the programs to understand what's being heard. But this is a Prevo right here. And you can see it's a fancy little simple deal. You put your mouth in there and you're able to dictate without anyone else hearing. So you can have this wirelessly Bluetooth hooked up and be talking into it and be dictating into whatever you're going to be dictating in Microsoft Word, messages, Google Docs, anything like that. So moving along here. The C-Pen reader pen, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I think I have an actual slide a little bit further. I do, because I have two I'd like to compare and contrast with you. But this is a cool little gadget that's been out for quite a few years now. But it fits in your hand, simple like this, right? Pretty small. And it simple as that, as you can see online there. I'm going to get it started. You probably won't hear it as well as I will, but you literally scan that page and it will read the text back out loud to you. It has a little headphone jack for if you do want headphones, right? And you can hear, I'll do a quick one once I get it started. It's cool. I found out that you can scan in any direction the other day. I'm not sure if you heard that. I got an old poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson in here. But she reads out loud. What's really cool about it too is that they do translation. So if you have any bilingual students, they will do that. I think they're on French, German, Chinese, and Spanish right now. It also has a Collins dictionary, as well as they just updated it. This one doesn't have it because it's not the newer model, but I believe it's let's see if it'll tell me. Yeah, it's not going to tell me. So this one has Collins dictionary, but they just came up with another one that they added to it as well. So they will define any word that a student is interested in defining. It also has a scan to file. So for if students are struggling readers and we want to create a word bank, say we're interested in working on specific words and pronouncing those or decoding those, you can scan those words in and create your own word file, upload that document to a computer and have those words there and to get an idea, and from there make a word list. It also has a voice recorder for taking any kind of voice notes and things like that. So if you're doing homework or if you're doing studying and you're scanning to file, say, important passages that you want to memorize, and then you want to make notes on those passages, it's all in one deal here. And going back to, that low tech stuff, sometimes with writing, sometimes just a simple weighted pencil can be helpful. I don't know that I have it handy here, but I just did a quick make and take for some occupational therapy students. And one of the things that we talked about was how you can make a larger pencil grip. There's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways, right? Sometimes I've seen people use epoxy steel and buckshot to make weighted pencils. So they had a bigger grip on them and they were heavier, and those were easier for the students to hold on to. These are weighted pencil grips, but they're just pieces of stone essentially that adds weight to the pencil. But there's things like Instamorph, right? Instamorph is just this moldable plastic. You get it hot and you run some hot water on it and it's able to be molded into plastic. You can form it into anything. You can use that to build things up, to make things smaller, to put little ledges on it. So there's always a lot of options. There's always something that we can be doing. And it's a huge world. So I understand not knowing what else is out there. And that's literally what we're here for, is we look for those ideas and things to see if they have been tried. And if they haven't, hey, we probably have them for you to try. And then that trial and error and seeing how it's going to work, right? So moving along, I left some of this in here just to give you guys a little bit idea on more assistive technology. I know not a lot of this is going to really apply to all you guys, especially with our kiddos with dyslexia, but it's important to know about, and I am going to demo one for you. So you can see this is just a simple mouse button box. And what it does is completely change how you're going to interact with a computer. Instead of using one of these things, if you're not good at using them or you have any kind of coordination problems, this would allow you to use that using just the simple arrows and the left and right click, right? All right there. And you hold down that arrow and your mouse is going to go to the right. You hold it up, it's going to go up. Takes a little bit more time to be precise, right? As you can imagine, trying to get up to the top there, but it opens it up. It is more accessible. These next things are called ergo armrests, and they're actually what I should probably be using right now. But what they do is they connect to a desk and allow you to really rest your arms and take a whole lot of pressure off of your shoulder. I have a gentleman who has a spinal cord injury, and they have completely changed his positioning, the way he works in his chair. Some simple environmental adaptation has completely relieved a whole bunch of pain for him and made things more comfortable. So now he's a more productive worker. Going along at the top, we have the glass house. And what this is another option for a mouse, like the mouse button box. But what it is the Bluetooth mouse. So that guy, he's wearing it over his head, and it would fit over my glasses if I was wearing it. And anywhere he looks with those glasses, when it's turned on, is where the mouse is going to go. Pretty cool little piece of tech. They just came out with a version 2. The first version was that one where you had to bite to click. Now they have extra options so we can integrate accessibility switches. I don't know if anyone's familiar with accessibility switches. These are handy things to increase accessibility for some kiddos. You can also set up with dwell, point and dwell for things like that. You can still use the click. There's a lot of options there. The iPad is really important, and then we'll talk about it next is the smartphone, right? These iPads, they can do a whole lot of things. It's funny, like we came out with them, smartphones were supposed to be smaller and easier, and now they're essentially a computer. This guy does everything my laptop will do, and it's an iPad, right? So there's a lot of options there. We don't want to forget about it, especially if it's already there. A lot of the times what we try to do is not change too much, right? And try to see where we already are at and what kind of settings and changes we can make with what is already in place. Then if there's nothing else there, then we can start looking at other options as well. And of course, if you just want to try things, that's where we're helpful for too. This guy down here, you can see this dude is using a wheelchair. He's actually controls his wheelchair with his chin. He also has a spinal cord injury. But what he uses is this Tekla, and this Tekla integrates into a smart device or a device, tablet, smartphone, whatever you're going to use, and allows you to control that device using your wheelchair controls. So this dude, he can have his phone mounted right up in a place where he can see it easily, can switch with his Tekla to going from controlling his wheelchair to controlling that smartphone, and it completely opens up his world, right? It gives him access to everything he needs. He can make phone calls, he can use navigation, wayfinding, anything he needs there. So another piece of tech that exists. Going back to like the mid tech, we talk, just computer access. Sometimes changing a keyboard can be really helpful for a kiddo. This is a giant Big Keys XL. Probably not the best for a whole lot of people, but it's available. And you can see it's just giant. And it's also in ABC format. I don't know if anyone noticed it's not QWERTY. So for any individuals you think about who have trouble remembering where the keys are, right? And they don't understand the QWERTY layout, that's okay. Let's just change it to ABC. Your ABC order. Now you can find your keys just as easily. And another last option here down, which I'm hoping continues, is the eye gaze options that are available, right? So Tobii Dynavox is kind of the leader. You can see their name right in there. But that is an eye gaze. It's called the 4C eye gaze bar. And it mounts right up to a computer and uses your eyes to control the computer. It's really cool. Just kind of like the Glass House, but only using your eyes and eye gaze. Not the best for everyone. I've tried it. I tried it to use just my eyes for a day, and I didn't make it more than 2 hours. The strain was incredible. I can't handle it. I rely too much on what I already know. But it's a really cool piece of tech and can really open up the world for individuals who don't have access to that. So our little tangent there on other assistive technology that exists. But going back, our smartphones are really a Swiss Army knife, right? They can do a whole lot of things. They can be a hearing aid. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with the AirPod Pros that just came out. Using those with an iPod or iPad Pro, you can actually enable something called Live Listen. And I can put this iPad, so say I'm a student who has trouble hearing the teacher in the back of the classroom because I'm sitting in the back, I can turn on Live Listen and go set this iPad next to the teacher, and it's going to amplify everything next to that iPhone or iPad. We can use it as a magnifier, right? Every iPad now has this simple, let's see if I have it on here. I might have it hidden. Yep, looks like it's hidden. I apologize, but every iPad has a magnifier on it now, right? And so it uses the camera to magnify. So you don't need to be carrying a magnifying glass. You don't need to be carrying a video magnifier. It's all right there and on your phone. Does image recognition, which I'm going to show you a little bit. It can be a reader, right? And I showed you the 2-finger swipe down for speak screen. We can do the same things with Androids, and it's called speak selection, if you're curious. You can get books on tape, we call them audiobooks now, but all of those are available. It can be a navigator or wayfinding app. I don't know if anyone's used Google lately, but if you go to the live Google, you can pull up someone's location and it will point you in the direction that you need to go. We tried it on Oliver the other day because we let him walk and meet us halfway, so we thought we'd try out to see his location. It works really cool. You think about someone who's blind or someone who needs a little extra support on their navigation, right there on their phone. Reminders, of course, we all know that they're there. We hardly ever use them though, but those can be super helpful for executive functioning. Step-by-step directions and wayfinding, talked about that a little bit. Caption phone calls. We can get an app now so that when we're calling our older family members, that they can not only be listening to us, but also be reading what's being said on their phone screen. That all exists. It's all available. And of course, AAC. Didn't really want to talk too much about AAC, but we have a lot of devices. Most of my iPad loans go to kiddos who are trialing AAC devices and trying to find a communication device for themselves that's going to work for them. But can do a lot of things. These smart things can do a lot of things. So, all right, let's get on to a little bit of some demonstration then. I'm gonna leave the share going, but I'm gonna try to pay attention to this. So I showed you guys the C Pen reader pen, right? So it performs what's called OCR, optical character recognition. And basically what that means is using a camera to pick up the letters, characters in a document or on a screen. It reads the text aloud, as you guys heard, does the word highlighting, which is really helpful when you're reading on the screen. It actually will highlight along, and I'll show you some other things that's gonna be available on iOS, Chromebook, and PC. And then you can transfer that scan text to the computer, like I said. We also just got, and this is because Robin requested it, the new OrCam Read, and I thought I would let you know it is in and it is available for borrowing now. As you can see this little tag there, unfortunately, when I get something, I have to wait for the university to tag it and to inventory it, so I can't get it out right away. But this is a new device from OrCam. Actually was created for individuals who are blind or visually impaired, but they saw a market for kiddos who have dyslexia. And what's cool about it, it is really accurate. It's gonna be tough here. I'm gonna see if I can put my screen, my camera down, but you should see, once we get this started, let's see, is it on? I'm having troubles here, hearing with my noise canceling. Come on, OrCam, I know you're charged. There he goes. So it does take some time to boot up. I'll let you hear what she's saying there. She tells us our battery. And then what I'll do is I'm going to try to move my camera. I apologize if this is shaky, but you can see my little Ralph Waldo Emerson quote here. But what it does is it creates, can you see that red line? And then it makes a little clip. Hopefully you're hearing me. The affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends. So I won't let her read the whole thing, but really, really straightforward piece of equipment. Super awesome. I'm always impressed by how well the OCR works on this thing. And that's like I said, it can read aloud, perform OCR. I like the laser guide, and that's maybe you guys can see it here because it's got little, can you see that? Maybe not, but you can see it's got a square that it puts, so you can actually put the text right where you need to. I'm doing a really big far back, but ideally you keep that square right on the text, and it will read the entire page, or it will do really quick signs. I also just found out that it is voice activated. So I could tell OrCam to take a picture. I don't know if it's going to listen to me here, but it is voice activated. So there's two very separate devices that do very similar things. But I wanted to show them to you because we have two very different ends of the price spectrum available, right? So the OrCam runs for about $1,400. It's very expensive, not super available to everyone. Whereas the C Pen is available for about $250. And again, all these two devices do things that your phone or your computer probably already does. It's just how we're going to go about using them, right? So handy, cool little device, does pretty much the same things, and probably I would say similar ideas. Take some practice getting used to this, or similar effects, right? Take some practice getting used to the C Pen to get the scanning down right. But at the same time, very different price differences, does exactly the same thing that you need it to do. Let's see. So we talked about text speech. I'm going to skip that. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do now is come back over to here. And Robin, if you want to make sure, just let me know you're seeing my iPad again. Okay, so what I thought I'd show you is another OCR app, right? And this is another app that was designed for individuals who are blind or visually impaired. But look, we find other uses for this stuff, right? That's what I love about AT, is that there's always something else we can use it for, right? But this was actually developed by an individual, he's blind, and he works for Microsoft. Unfortunately, this app is only available on iOS. I do have another one I'm going to show you, but this is called Seeing AI. And what it does is on-the-fly OCR, among a couple other things. So as you can see, it's actually trying to scan and look for text right now. That's what this blue line is doing. And it is in the full document mode, right? But what it has is a couple different modes. You'll see it at the very bottom here. I'm going to set this down so I can show you with my mouse. I'm going to go through these guys right here and just show you what they do. They won't, like I said, be all super helpful for you, but hopefully it gives you an idea. So short text here. I'm not sure why she's not reading. And again, I think this is something to do with my sharing settings. So I apologize there, but you can see she would be reading if I let her go. If I switch it over to the document, she actually will scan for me. There it goes, if I get it flipped right. So she's processing. Oh, and didn't miss it. So let's go ahead and go back. Go back here. Okay, so quick scan. She would be telling me to back up or to move accordingly. So you can see where those blue things are. But right there, all of the text from this Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, all available to us. If I hit the play, it's going to read out loud to me. It's going to highlight the text while I'm doing it. Simple, straightforward, doesn't take anything but time, right? And I can make things bigger. I can share it if I wanted to. So I can share the text if I wanted to upload that or hold on to it. Say if I'm reading a book or if I'm scanning a book, this would be an option. I wouldn't recommend this one, but there is options for it. What's cool about it is that it's also doing this stuff. I always like to show this off, so try to make sure I get me in there and I can hit the picture. What'd it give me? Disconnected, but oh, here we go. 38-year-old man with brown hair and a beard wearing glasses looking neutral. So she actually is doing image recognition. She sees some guy and that's what we get.
I'm not doing that. I don't want to have any idea what they're doing.
We never do it on women. We always do it on guys with the age guesstimation. But it's really cool, you know, it can do a lot of different things and it can be helpful. It's just, I'm trying to show you guys what AT is available. Oh, didn't recognize that one. Let's see if I try again here. I did earlier. Coca-Cola 20 ounce, got it correct, right? So you can see that there. That's what this AT is. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I don't know what all you would be interested in besides the text, but it does cool things. So on that note, I guess I'll go ahead and show you. While that isn't available on Android, I do have on here something very similar, and this is called Google Lookout. And this is from Google. It's got little eyeglasses on there, but it does the same exact thing. Really straightforward. This is just on my phone, so it's going to be tough to show. A little bit faster than the Seeing AI is what I've found. But she talks to you.
Too close. Move device away. Move device right. Hold still.
And she's got me all the text here. I can do a 2-finger swipe up and select to speak. Well, if I do it correctly here. I can select to speak, select all of the text,
to laugh often
and it's going to read it out loud to me. Hopefully you guys are probably hearing that. And that was called Google Lookout. Similar to the Seeing AI app, I was using the Select to Speak, which is an accessibility feature in Android. And there we go. We just made some printed text accessible and read to us. Just 2 simple apps that exist there. So moving along here, I got to remember what we had next. Oh, okay, yeah. So sometimes a lot of people don't think about just changing text, right? Some of the things I'm going to show you next are going to have these options there, but there is an open dyslexic font that's available. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. I haven't gotten it to work very well with Androids, but it works free. I use it for all of my Microsoft Word and Microsoft stuff. But what we're looking for is sans serif fonts, right? So you want a serif font is a font that has like squigglies on it, has extra design. Anything sans serif is not going to have the squiggly extra design. So when you're talking about things like Arial, Comic Sans, right? Open Dyslexic, you can see it's pretty straightforward. It's weighted differently. Things like Trebuchet, Calibri, right? These are all sans serifs, and they're basically lamer fonts. But at the same time, those can really help brain processing and the way that students are reading and how they're seeing the text, right? And when they're trying to read. And a lot of times that can be super helpful as well. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and bail out, and I'm going to pull up. So I got the Idaho Training Clearinghouse we talked a little bit about. I'll go ahead and I'll show you our lending library. You can see here, this is just our landing page. If you go to the items, you can see that we have a whole lot of stuff. So it looks like somebody put a X-Inflex leg exerciser. I haven't seen one of those before. It looks like there's a cane up in Lewiston, bath chair. We got some Bose headphones available. There's a whole lot of things that we have listed on this website. We got some chair massagers, a lively smartphone, lots of different things, but you can narrow it down to just Boise or to wherever you're looking. So as you can see, we have Disability Action Center we contract with, Idaho Deafblind Equipment Distribution Program, Council for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, right? And then you got Idaho AT Resource Center, Boise, which would be me. And you can see, we got Sony noise canceling headphones that I got to get added, a couple Apple pencils that we just got. Lots of different things that's available. The Remarkable 2 that I showed you. This is where you could find the Overcam Read. Got that all set up there. And what you can do is you can create an account and request this stuff from me. Like I said, free of charge. Generally, we do 30-day loans. Really depends on the device, though. Sometimes I can let you keep it a lot longer than that. But I always try to get that 30 days in just so that you can make sure. And the whole point is to try it before you have to worry about purchasing, right? You want to make sure that it's going to work for you. So moving along here, one of the things, I actually got an email from Kim last week, and she has a school out in Cottonwood that was interested in some support. So I thought I'd use their examples of what they need some support for to show you guys. I know everyone uses, I think most people are on Chromebooks. If you're not on a Chromebook, let me know and we can switch gears and go back to iPads. But one of the things I want to talk about was how do you read a PDF on a Chromebook? Sometimes it can be really, really difficult. So I'm going to show you here. I went ahead and this is an old scan that I did. I think I used Office Lens, which is another scanning app that exists that you can use to run OCR. But what it is, I don't know if you can tell, this is just a picture. So no matter how much I click on it, the text isn't accessible to me. You can see there's some ink marks there. It's really just a picture, right? There's nothing going on. To give you an example of something that's not a picture, this is the same thing, Adobe PDF. You can see up at the top, these are definitely PDFs. I'm in Acrobat for Chrome, but I can actually access this text. So you can see I can highlight it, I can do that stuff. And really, that's what we want. That's what accessibility is talking about, is can you access the text, say, with your mouse? That's the first step. And it's going to be, depending on how you go about doing that, there's going to be different options, right? So what I wanted to show you guys is I had this Office Lens PDF. This is what this guy is right here. But if I go back to my Google Drive on a PC, most teachers are using PCs still. What you can do is you can right click that PDF and you can open with. And you can open with Google Docs as long as you're connected. And this is something that you will get, right? So it's the person first, then the disability. If you want to get really into it, I already did to make sure everything that is on this page is on this page. However, as you can see, we lost a lot of our formatting. There's a lot of formatting issues, right? It doesn't jive, but it works. And I wanted to double check what I went ahead and I did. Oh, yeah, okay, let me go back here. What I went ahead and I did earlier today is I went and took a picture using Office Lens. Baby Bear, what do you see? We just got a couple of these books in for our shared reading AAC. So as you can see, it's a picture, right? I can't access this text. Nothing is highlighting. And this is just the title, right? I didn't even get into the other pages. But if I go back to here and I right click this and I open with a Google Doc, let's see what we get. I think I already have a tab open there, but we'll let it do its thing so you guys can see. It takes some time because it's actually thinking. But as you can see, we have all of the text there. All of the text has been extracted. There are some formatting issues. We did not get any of the pictures, but all of the text that we have on that page or on this front page, my first reader, Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carl, reading activities inside on this little sticker, which always amazes me. It even tried to keep the formatting of that, right? So it looks like MacKids.com series, my first reader. And then we have Baby Bear, what do you see? OCR ran, didn't do anything but open it in a different program. So a lot of options, a lot of availability there. Moving along here, I'm trying to remember where I was. Okay, yeah, so what I have here is another Chromebook. And as you heard me say, on a PC. So there's not going to be able to right click and open in Google Docs on a Chromebook. Not 100% sure why, to be honest. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is generate a code here. Pull this guy up. And what I'm using is remote share desktop from Google Chrome. Everyone can do this if you have a Google account. But I want to give you some ideas. Share. Okay. As you can see, I've got everything open, pretty much the same thing that I did on my other on my PC, right? So here you can see my Google Drive. You can see this. I didn't realize it looks like I have my visor on. I'm gonna turn you off. Is it on? Oh, that looks really, for some reason, my screen looks really weird right now, but I'll just continue here. But Google Chrome has a couple options for the Chromebook available as well. And what I'm going to show you is this OCR image reader. So it's really cool. If I open up this guy, and so one of the things I found is how the image is pulled up. You definitely have to open it correctly. But let's go ahead and see, so it's not going to access that. I can't figure out why that was happening, but there we go. Okay. So you can see that this is a downloaded file if you look closely, home, Chronos, all that. And for some reason, it doesn't jive with these downloaded files. But if we go back home here and you see, I just opened Office Lens in my drive. If I come up here and this is a plugin that's available, it's just OCR Image Reader. What I can do is highlight this text that I want, and you'll see it down at the bottom. It is initializing and loading and figuring it out and recognizing text. And we have, it's the person first in the disability. One little plugin just made that. I don't have to worry about opening Google Docs. I don't have to worry about the teacher doing it for me and sending it to me or doing all the reformatting, because then I can easily pull up my select to speak, right? This guy right here, and select all of this.
It's the person first. Then the disability.
And she reads out loud to me. All right there, all self-contained, all available just in the Chromebook. It's just all about how you're going to do that. And all of these settings are available on the Chromebook. It's on all Chromebooks. And what I was using is select to speak. And I'll show you this again real quick. And select to speak is just going to be in those accessibility settings. And I don't know what's going on here. Let me try this. OCR Chromebook. See, I Googled this not that long. Try to get back to the Chrome store so you can see what that looks like. Yeah, you can see straightforward, remove from Chrome, all there. I'm surprised there's only there's 40,000 users, but only 48 responses. Pretty interesting there. So one of the things I wanted to show you is reading modes that are available. So I just pulled up NPR here, but if you navigate to a actual website, right, or excuse me, a web page, what you should get or have an option for is this guy right here. It's reader mode, and this is available for Chromebooks as well. But it's a cool deal. It does what actually OneNote would do. Microsoft really started this stuff, and I think I'll come back and show you OneNote if you're interested. But they have what's called immersive reader. Unfortunately, Microsoft isn't used by a whole lot of school districts in Idaho. Some of them do, but they don't have a whole lot of access for students. But this does the same exact thing, and it's called read mode. This is available in Edge, Microsoft Edge as well, and Safari does a read mode as well. So if you're using other options or other devices, this is possible. But you can see all it does is clean up the text, right? We removed all of the ads that were along with it, made it simple, straightforward. It's all centered. It's all, it's simple. It stripped everything away. And what I really like about it is just the different settings you get. You can change the font style. You can change some of the themes, right? So if you want a darker theme, if that helps students read better, all of these are going to be available. There are some premium features that you can enable. But as far as this being free and working right off the bat, it does. You can have it read out loud to you with the text to speech as well. Just with that, you don't even have to use the select to speak option. All right. So I don't want to let him do his thing here. But there's a lot of different options that are available here. I can save the page if I want. I can make it full screen if that makes me feel better about reading, right? All of these things are available. It's very straightforward there. So go ahead and close that out. Trying to remember what else I had for you here. Do we have any questions? Anyone interested? I can move on to the iPad and changing those. We can take a look at OneNote. It's been about an hour. I don't want to waste your time, but I also want you guys to be very aware of what's available to you. I can answer some questions, more demonstrations. What do you think, Robin?
Gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and all of this is just, I can't believe I have an iPhone and I didn't know about the 2-finger swipe.
You have to enable it. You have to go into the accessibility menu and enable it. So that'll be your
Okay.
catch. That'll be
So-
select to speak. That's what it's called.
So all these other people probably are way up to speed.
You're probably
but
playing, yeah, and who knows? They're playing with stuff right now. They're talking. That could very well be.
That's really incredible. I think maybe I just want to interrupt a minute and have you share the process for a kiddo that's in our Idaho public schools and they're
Absolutely.
struggling. So, mom and dad are they've requested a special education evaluation and they've heard about assistive technology and they come to the SPED team and say, can you include in the special education evaluation a full AT evaluation? And I'll be honest with you, Nick, a lot of our that's new. Not all of our teachers even know that's a resource. So
we've been scheming for you guys as well, because they come surrounding to us after they hear from you parents. I guarantee it. And the first thing we say is, relax, take a breath. We're here to help. Everyone's here to make sure that the student's going to do the best that they can, right? Given what we have available to us. So in an IEP, yeah, you guys request an individualized education plan, right? Well, what the school does is they have a couple of options. I believe in the IEP, there's a box that says assistive technology was considered. Well, some teachers aren't familiar with AT, right? Aren't even familiar with what's available, so they don't know where to start. Other teachers, other schools are well on their way. They don't need them, a waste of time for me. So they don't want me to bug them. But what a school can do, if I can get our website to come up, I don't know what's going on here, but www.idaho.at.org is supposed to be our website, and I don't know why it's not working for me now. I think actually what I'm going to do, give me one moment. I'm going to stop mirroring and then let me, oh no, it disappeared. Gosh darn it. Okay, I won't be able to get that going. So unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with our website.
I've got it up here. I could share my
Do
screen.
you want to share it? Yeah, so I'll stop sharing if you want to share yours. Yeah, the site can't be reached. And so I am on a weird, to be able to share my screens like I was, I'm on a weird, I have our own AT web. There we go. Okay, perfect. So what a teacher is going to do here is navigate to consultations. They're welcome to go through some of this stuff. This is our Idaho landing page, Idaho AT landing page, and we have things all over the place. This is something that I thought we had to work with, because as you can see, I showed you the Idaho Training Clearinghouse. Well, we link to the Idaho Training Clearinghouse. Like, how can we be even so overwhelming, right? But school-based services, you're right there. And you can see we do adult assessments as well. Individuals can pay us if they want to. It's $65 an hour. But what they're going to follow, is this right here, school-based services. And all they have to do is using Idaho System. They'll click that link, correct? And it should take them to the Idaho Training Clearinghouse. Right, and you can use the student consultation application right there. This has to be done by a team member, by a school team member. It has to be done for a student on an IEP. But we're just going to ask some basic questions. So has the student had a previous consultation? Pretty straightforward there. Are they receiving any IESDB services? Most of the time, no. They will call us if that's the case. Usually we hear about it. But we ask for some general information about the kiddo, and then you can keep going. So, and this is where we get, this is the catch. What AT is currently used, right? And what tasks are we trying to do? A lot of people seem to think, oh, it's AT, they need AT. Well, not necessarily. What are we trying to do? And a lot of times you don't really need anything. You just sometimes need to adjust, like showing on your iPhone or showing what's available in the Chromebook. And then we ask, hopefully sometimes we get too much. So we ask you to narrow it down a little bit. What's the most important, just in case we can't do it all, right? And then we ask for a little bit of history. What has been used, what is currently being used, and how it's working. And then we just ask for some parents' names, parents and applicant information from the teachers. Everything's really, the rest of it's, just contact information. I do think if we go a little bit further down, that's just school info. We ask about their team members, who needs to receive a copy of the consultation after, and then we have some disabilities. So from my perspective, I'm not a medical professional. You can tell me about disabilities all you want and medical diagnosis. It's not going to inform anything for me. It might help a little bit, guide me, but I want to see somebody. I want to see where exactly that they're struggling. Show me what you're doing, because just because you have a learning disability doesn't mean you need an ORCAM. There's a whole lot of different things that go around, and then you can see a medical diagnosis and
I
then the
like
current
that you
services.
mentioned. I like that you mentioned executive functioning, because that often comes up so often for our
Who's
kiddo.
it's gonna be, right? Who does
Yeah.
that applies to a whole lot of things. So
Yeah.
I tend to not really worry about diagnosis as much. It does help inform a little bit, but we do have that information. And then we look for, some of the stuff getting more specific. So current services, but if you scroll down a little bit, we talk about what actually is going on. Okay, so computer device. I had one consultation come in. I say, well, so are you guys not using any computers? Because they didn't put anything. Oh, no, we're a Chromebook school. Would have been nice if you put that in there, so that way I knew if it was iPad school or a Chromebook school before I called you. The motor aspects of writing. How are you doing gripping a pen and a pencil? A lot of people will say not so good. That's it. And now we need AT for that. Okay, well, have you tried dictation? There's a lot of different ways that we can write. And then, like I said, I was in a school that was doing reading and writing intervention, and they weren't doing anything with the technology. They were just focusing on writing and the supports for writing and reading, but no tech with it, right? And so it could be great. We don't want to lose those skills, right? We want to make sure, especially with fine motor skills, it's important to practice those things. You don't have to be good, and my handwriting is proof that you don't have to be good at it, but it's important to have those skills. But it's also important to make other things available, right? And as we go through math, recreation and leisure, seating and positioning, are there any problems caused by the way they're positioning, right? That's going to be way more important than getting you access to your curriculum first, right? And if you're not comfortable, you're not going to learn anything. And of course, the mobility and vision and hearing, and then behaviors. Behaviors are a big one. With SESTA, we have behavior intervention teams that will go out into schools and work with school teams and talk about applied behavioral analysis and how to support a student, right? And make sure they did a training for us. This is a whole nother world, but the antecedent and what happens, and what the behavior is satisfying, which step on the hierarchy of needs are we getting, right? Because behavior is communication. So we have all of these supports. We have a lot of different pieces, but that's the application. Simple as that. A teacher just needs to submit that. It goes to Dan Dyer, and then he sends it to me if it's down here and distributes it. But from there, what we do is I call the teacher and I say, how's it going? What any other questions that I might have based on what you had your initial application had asked. If there's any AT being used, I'll get really specific in how that's being used and what. And that's what I'm finding. Yeah, AT is being used, or yes, we have AT, but we don't know how to use it. Or yes, it's being used, but not to its full capacity. And that's, if you have a Chromebook or a tablet, you probably have all the tools you need to be successful, especially with reading and writing. It's just learning and making sure the teachers understand that those things are available and they're acceptable, right? It's okay to change things up. And maybe we just do half and half. Like I said, going back to this writing intervention, we don't want to lose all handwriting and say, forget it, forever, but maybe we do half and half to encourage and make sure that we're accomplishing some of the goals and not always just, failing at them. But I'll call the teacher and set up a time to come out to the school that works for them. I kind of be laid back. I like to talk to the student and see how they're doing, seeing if they're even engaged, first of all, because if you're not engaged, you're not going to learn anything. And anything I give you ain't going to work to begin with. So we try to establish that. I try to talk to the teachers and see where they are at. I'll give you an example. I went to 2 schools this week on Monday and Tuesday, 2 very different receptiveness. One was very happy to have me. One was doing it because they thought they needed me to have me there. And which I'm happy to be there, but I also don't want to waste anyone's time. I want to help. I'm a helper by nature, right? And it's a waste of time if I'm telling you things that you already know, or if you're not going to listen to me to begin with. Well, let's not do it, right? I'm here to help the kids. So but it's from there I try to spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours. That usually is more than enough I need to at least get the ball rolling, because my job is not to give you anything in particular. My job is to give you ideas, and I can't go in and say, yes, this student needs this, this, and this. It's really not the case, because every student's different, and then there's going to be some learning curve that goes along with it. For example, this one school that was a little hesitant to have me, I was showing them some of the tech that I had, and some stuff she was blown away by how simple it was going to be to implement, because she already has a lot going on and she doesn't need take care, Christine. Hopefully you can watch the rest of this getting recorded. But she was blown away by how simple some of it would be implemented. But when I showed her some Chromebook supports, she was very nervous, because the students needing a little extra support in their computer literacy. This teacher has got 30 kids and is all over the place. She doesn't necessarily have the time to teach computer literacy on top of that. So what can we do, right? And that's where I went into reading intervention. I said, well, they're not using any AT here. Why can't we do half and half, right? And be working on their computer literacy with dictation and reading, and then comprehension after, while also working on our fine motor skills and our actual reading text, with our eyes and things like that. So I try to work with these teams. Most of the time I only meet the special education teacher and then general education teacher, sometimes a para if they're around. Yeah, I try to spend a couple hours, get a good idea of the kiddo, who they are, if the really engagement is what I look for first. And then I put the ball in their court and I say, I'm here for you. You're struggling with school, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be a self-advocate. And so I try to make sure it's always the kiddos that are in charge here. It's all up to them, because if they're not interested in it, or if they don't want to, we're not going to get anywhere. So I try to put the ball in their court there, and then we try things. It's impossible for me to bring the entire library, although I'd like to, because there's a lot of stuff that works for a lot of people. But I try to parse it down to be simple, quick, and easy, and meet people and meet the teams where they're at. Probably there's always better ways of doing things, but that's what I've found has been the most laid back, because it allows students to, like I said, get a little autonomy and make choices on their own. It's different, right? Because assistive technology is a very different thing. Sometimes kids don't like AT at all. I've had kids that we gave the C pen to who hated it. They did not want anything to do with headphones and carrying this thing around. They just wanted to read like their peers. Okay, well, that's up to them. That's all in them. So we got to do some work on maybe convincing them that, hey, this could be helpful. But yeah, it's really laid back. I try to bring some tools that would be helpful so we can try them right there, and I'm there to support. And then I most of the time will leave some assistive technology with the school, so that way they can get right after it. They can start using it right away. And then I come back with all of my notes, and I come back and talk to Dan. And unfortunately, I do not have a blank one for you. I could probably do one real quick to give you an idea here. Let me see. So this one was a ways ago. Let me just make sure. I'll try to remove some of this info real quick. I apologize. I was not as prepared. I did this back in March. Make sure I'm just not using any identifying information here. Yeah, I think that should work. Make sure I am. I'll just delete that. Sure I'm not missing anything. I apologize, everyone. I'm just trying to get rid of these initials real quick, just to make sure, since we're going to be recording this. But to give you an idea, good. Okay. I'll share this screen here, and here we go. Okay. So yeah, that'll work. So this is an example of what we have. It's student consultation. Give a little bit of student background information about the kiddo, and then this is what I provide: links and information. So as you can see, everything that's blue is going to be a link, and then I try to make it a narrative format so that way it's not too boring. But all of these things are going to be links to another deal. So you have Google on utilizing Google Docs. Can't remember what that says there. You have all the accessibility features that are listed in a Chromebook. You have read and write for Google Chrome. And I had those I was going to demo for you as well, co-writer, but I didn't quite get to them because I don't have access to them. But those we have available to us as well. But these are all links. They're all just ideas. I can't guarantee that anything's going to be great for them. Like there's a handy writer aid, right? So I'll give you an example of the two things I recommended: the Arthwriter and the Handy Writer. So you can see the Arthwriter hand aid. That's just a way to change your grip on a pen, right? Versus, go back to here, the Handy Writer. I can change this. So the handy writer, this is a whole little deal that wraps around your wrist, right? So just examples of things that might be helpful. I can't recall exactly for this kiddo what we ended up going with, unfortunately. But I included all of this information because it's twofold. I don't know if any of these are going to work for them, and if they're interested in, they can contact me to borrow them, right? So the ball is all in your court. And I also don't know if they possibly could have a student who has similar struggles, or maybe a student who it might work for, right? So granted, this might not be the best thing for this kiddo, but that teacher is familiar with what is available in the future. And that's my whole point, and my whole goal is to try to, I understand, everyone has a life and has their own job going on, and you don't have time to learn all about AT. And I totally understand that. But to let you know, get your brain flowing, and that there is possibly something. And that's when you call me. And that's when you can call us and say, there's a kiddo struggling with XYZ. What do you think? Is there anything out there? Boom, we got some ideas for you. And then you can take off and go try those. And hopefully quick ideas is what we're looking for, right? Or links to resources for those. And then, so they get that report. After that, it's really up to the team to decide what they'd like to move forward with on acquiring or using or anything. Like I said, I try to overwhelm them and provide way more than what's needed, in the hopes that that will have some effect on future kiddos, and then they don't need as many assistive technologies consultations. I'm happy to do them, but I also, I understand having so many extra people at the table and all of that. And like I said, there are some teams that are doing great. And I have some contacts who are just out around just across the state, really, that they really understand ATE. They're occupational therapists, they're special education teachers, there's SLPs, but they get it. And there are people that are out there, and I call them my AT champions. And those are the ones that they just call me when they need something.
So
that's the idea, is trying to raise the floor, right? And our whole goal is to provide you that info and support
you. I put in the chat the website to get to where, when I was sharing my screen, to the form that a teacher would need to go in and fill out. And then that starts the process of getting an AT evaluation for a kiddo in your school. And if you're a parent and your school team isn't familiar with AT, just feel comfortable in requesting an evaluation and sharing with them the website and this resource. So I think.
Absolutely, yeah, we're here to help. I've heard about it at 7:15. I know I can talk about this forever. We have been hearing, and like I told you, so Charlie Silva is the director of special education in Idaho, and my head honcho works with Charlie. Luckily, I'm not these head honchos. I just get to work with everyone down on the ground. But yeah, some of these teachers are really scared, because they're like, "What in the world is this? Mom and dad are really upset, and I don't know what we're doing. And is this a law thing?" Right? Everyone's nervous about lawsuits. And so one of the things, I was really glad to hear it, because some people were contacting Janice, and then had Janice contacting me saying, "What's going on?" And well, hold on. I think these are just very passionate parents. And I think the school's a little bit discombobulated on what we are here to do. And we're finding out, I had no idea about the Idaho Assistive Technology Project. Like, well, perfect opportunity for us to come and introduce ourselves. So that's exactly, it's not, I don't think it's failing on anyone. It's really hard. We're best kept secret in Idaho is what I tell my boss. But we're working on it.
I think, I mean, our big, West Ada district, of course, has their own AT gal in-house, but it's the smaller districts that, just need to know that this is a resource. So I thank you for taking time with us tonight, and hopefully can share this recording out to all of those that are on our mailing list. But I want to open it up before we wrap up for the night. If anybody that's with us tonight has any questions for Nick, or you can just unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. That was a lot of information for me. Like I said, that was incredible. I always love listening to you. It's just so overwhelming. I'm definitely not up to speed with AT.
That's all right.
My 13-year-old son probably is.
He'll ask him to show you speak screen. I bet you he's got it.
Right. And I know there's always that worry about AT, especially with our kiddos with dyslexia. We don't want, the goal is to provide appropriate remediation for them to grow their skills in reading. And I, for sure, am a supporter of that. But my son, who's in 7th grade still just has such a struggle with reading that, just to even that playing field for him to have things read to him and for him to be able to do speech to text, writing is very laborsome for him. So, but he's just smart as a whip. So, that's where it took me a minute to even get on board with AT. I was in a place years ago where, no, I want him to learn this. And now I've come to realize what a huge support it is for him, because he really is definitely on track academically from an intellectual standpoint to keep up with his peers, in some ways, maybe even past them. But his inability to read and write holds him back. So it's been a real,
our culture has surrounded, right? That's what
Right.
the value, even though it's not necessarily how it's going to end up. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly
so for
agree.
him to be able to take in the textbook, that he can't read at grade level and just soaks up those history lessons, it's just, AT's become a good friend to us. So
I'm very glad to hear that. I'm super glad to hear it. That's
Any
what we're here
questions?
for. I'm going to try to help. So
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Any questions from those that are with us tonight? Dr. Zadel joined, I see. Okay. Well, Nick, you're off the hook a few minutes early, but great information. And,
Since I came in late, let me ask one question. I'm sure he's probably answered it. So, Nick, if they want the sheet that you shared right at the end there, can they, how do they get it?
a consultation report.
Yeah.
That I couldn't share. So that's what we would write after doing a consultation, right?
Okay.
So whether we're working with folk rehab or with a school team. Now we do another thing that we call just brainstorming, where it doesn't have to be the whole process where we write the report and all that. And I usually just copy and paste that information as much as I can, depending on what the verbiage is and if it's going to fit. I always provide the same links and same information, regardless if it's in a report or if it's in an email. And like I had mentioned you about with Cottonwood, and I showed somehow to read a PDF. We can do that if a teacher is struggling or has trouble, or a student, hey, my student is struggling with XYZ. Is there another way for him to access it? I can send you those links and things like that.
Okay.
The catch is they just need a little bit of background information. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't provide those, and they're really it's just for information. They're not to make a decision on. It's just to support the team and get them in the right direction based on our expertise and understanding what AT is available and what's probably going to be a good fit. And it's not exhaustive either. Unfortunately, I don't know everything, so I can't include it all. But yeah, that's the only way to go into those would be through a VR or adult or school-based consultation, something like that. But I provide all that information in email format as well. I mean, it's potato from my perspective. And to give you guys an idea as well, where the consultation requests are only for students who are on an IEP, and also for public schools, but I work with charter schools as well. And they just come in, teacher comes in with mom and dad and student, and we sit down and we talk. And I pull out my AT and we go over everything. They get the same information that another student would have. It's just I have to call it a different thing, right? It's just because of where the funding is. This is through the AT project. I can support Idahoans with AT. Whereas if we do the SDE side of things, there are a couple other hoops that we have to jump through and have to qualify for. But we're here to help. I mean, anything we can do, all you got to do, Kim, is ask for that information. I can get it to you somehow. So, and then what's really tough too, there is a lot of stuff. I showed a video of Dan doing some the training Dan did on the ITC. What did we call it? Assistive technology literacy supports. He goes over a lot of different things, and teachers don't, or even parents a lot of the time, they don't want everything. And just like I kind of overwhelmed talking about everything that's available. It's like, wow, okay, it's great to know about, but now what? So it can be really helpful and even the consultation requests get kind of general, but if someone emails and says, XYZ, and I had CC you on that. If you have an exact thing, I can walk you through it, and then we don't have to worry about sending you a link to this long training that probably has some great tools for you that you could use, but you don't have the time to sit down and watch, you know. So that's the other thing about AT is how do we be a quick fix and to give the student what they need versus also building, you know, competence, right? And understanding what everyone understands and raising the floor in that regard. How's that for a non-answer?
No, that works. I have a family that I will have them. I mean, the kid, he's a junior, but he has a 3.9 GPA, but he's got dyslexia and nobody thinks there's a problem because he's got this high GPA, but he really struggles with reading. So I will have mom contact you.
Right.
Absolutely. Speed up the reading.
Absolutely. That's, you know, and yep, that don't hesitate. We're here to help, and I'm here to help everyone, not just parents, not just students, and not just teachers. We have to do it together, even though it is tough, but we got to do it together. We won't leave anyone hanging. It's no one's fault for anything either. We never go that. Just get it fixed.
You're the
just
best.
move forward. That's how we try to work around here. So
yeah,
the best. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So if you have any further questions for Nick, you can always reach out to him directly. His email was in the chat, I think. Or you can find him at Idaho Assistive Technology Project on the website.
Absolutely. You can Google CESTA, Idaho CESTA. I'll come up on that as well. Nick Stallings. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Nick Stallings in Idaho. There's other Stallings, but I come up there too.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. Take care. I hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.